your hands. But where were hers? That's what I'm asking.
No, that's
She was, her hands were just back? You had said to me, I didn't want...
They ended up seizing in eventually.
So they ended up...
They ended up like this kind of thing, which is part of the decorticate kind of, but that's after the seizure.
But before the seizure, she didn't grab at your hands?
There was no panic, everything.
No, I'm not saying panic.
The individual...
I'm not saying panic.
Hello all you couch detectives out there, my name is Lee, thank you for being here. On this channel we post full interrogations. You may have seen some of these stories elsewhere, but likely not the full interrogation. So if that's your sort of thing, make sure you're subscribed. We have over 200 interrogations posted on this channel already, and a lot more on the way. For everything couch detectives, go to couchdetectivestv.com. Okay, enough rambling, let's get into it. Today's case brings us to Durham, New Hampshire, where on October 9, 2012, a 19-year-old student went missing. That student was Elizabeth, or Lizzie Marriott. Lizzie had just started attending the university in fall of 2012, majoring in biology. This was her first time venturing out on her own from her parents' house in Massachusetts. To save money on housing, Lizzie moved in with her aunt and uncle in Chester, New Hampshire. Well, what happened to Lizzie Marriott? Lizzie had met a woman named Kat McDonough after she started working at the Target in Greenland, New Hampshire. Kat worked at Target also. She had been over to Kat's apartment one time, and on the night of October 9th, 2012, she agreed to come over again and watch a movie. Lizzie Marriott would never be seen again. Kat would not be the only person there when Lizzie arrived. As you see in their text, Kat clearly says, "we." The other person in the apartment was Kat's then boyfriend, 29 years old at the time, Seth Mazzaglia. Kat and Seth would both be questioned separately by police on October 12th, 2012, and both of them would certainly have different stories. While we do not have a recording of Kat's initial interview with detectives, we do have her proffer, and a proffer agreement is when the suspect agrees to help detectives solve a case by being 100% honest in what they know and their role. In Kat's case, she agreed to help prosecutors convict her boyfriend, Seth Mazzaglia. Kat's proffer interview is up on our Patreon for those that are interested in hearing what she had to say, along with other extra interviews in this case and more information. Police searched the dumpsters outside of Seth and Kat's apartment building. Inside they discovered bags, one of which contained a sweatshirt owned by Lizzie. They also discovered a pair of men's underwear containing both Seth Mazzaglia's and Lizzie Marriott's DNA. Seth's initial interview with detectives took place in the late hours of October 12th, 2012, going into the early morning hours of October 13th. This is a very interesting interrogation to say the least, and of course, stay tuned after for the most up-to-date information surrounding this case. Here is the full police interrogation of Seth Mazzaglia, but first, let us have a moment of silence for the victim in this case.
You just flip your, I think you could. Hold on, although I don't know. Yeah, I turned that on, yeah. Okay. So you know, I haven't turned off those recorders. This room is audio and video recorder as well. Just make sure with the desktop so this is being recorded. So, look, here's the thing. I feel like we've certainly come a long way, right? We came from nothing happened to... So, the one thing I want to smoke out, just you and me. And we'll close the door. We gotta talk about those movies. Okay? You give me 3 minutes of your time? Is there any chance? Well, I can work on that. What's your most? Well, I gotta tell you that seeing Kat is one of those things that is like seeing your parents. I felt like, I mean, I can't stop you from leaving here, although I don't know where Kat's at. Yeah. But I felt like you and I made a pretty good agreement. You show me where you threw her, I'll let you see your clothes. And it's not even let you see, it's I'll help to make sure you see it. Because at any time you could have walked out, said, I'm going to go see my clothes. But now we're at another crossroads where,
But I couldn't walk out and just go see Kat.
well, I don't know where she is right now, so that's a little bit of a logistical problem.
Where is she then?
Well, I don't know, because,
Can you find out?
Well, it's not that she's in any type of harm.
No.
She's.
But if she's,
let's,
you know, like, I mean, what department is she?
do you want me to make some calls on that and,
Yes.
and see where she's
But
at?
I just want to know, and it'll help.
I'll tell you what. And I don't mind going out of the way, and that's something that I wouldn't typically do.
I know, I'm probably, I mean, I am asking.
Well, yeah, let me see, give me 1 second to talk to Scott, and I'll be right with you.
Are you warming up?
Yeah.
I'm still freezing.
Yeah.
My hands are like, no.
Yeah.
Honey, you got the warmer jacket, because man, I was freezing out there.
Okay, Scott's gonna go call, see if we can figure out where she's at.
Okay.
All right, my sense is she's probably still at Newington PD, talking to the two troopers who were there.
I'd just like to know, that's all. I just like
I told you, I don't mind going out of my way a little bit for you. I need you to go out of your way a little bit to help me.
I've been doing that all night.
This sexual event that took place. I know you were excited about the prospect of it going home. So I know that there have been some discussion that something like this was going to take place. Not what ended up happening,
Yeah.
just an encounter. In that discussion, had you guys talked to Kat yet? Or had you talked to Lizzie yet? Had you said to her, hey, we're thinking about this? Or was that just you and Kat, maybe Roberta and Paul discussing this?
That was, at least I never discussed such things with Lizzie prior to that night.
But did Kat?
I don't know. I know Kat and I talked about the possibility of maybe doing something, not necessarily that. You know, just like, oh, hey, we would be fun if she joined us, what would we do? I don't know. You know, yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, stuff like that.
How did Paul and Roberta get into the mix? I get how, so you and Kat talk about this, and you're like, hey, you know what, maybe she'll be down for this, and we'll be able to involve her in something that we enjoy. But how did Roberta and Paul get there? How did they get involved in it? Had you talked to them ahead of time, too?
Sometimes we need to just talk like psychic and tarot stuff. Usually Roberta and I, but Paul's been with her a lot lately. You know, I think he just kind of moved in, like not like moved in. But I know he spends a lot of time there with her, and I wasn't expecting that night.
So were you surprised when you walked in and it was the three of them and Lizzie?
I guess, yes.
You said you texted Kat when you left the best friend.
I said I might have.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Sometimes I do. So I have to look in my phone and see if it's still there.
Did she send you a text back?
Usually, again, I don't know. Usually, if we do exchange, it's like, you know, hey, out of work. Oh, good. You know, great. Love you. See you soon. Like, it's that kind of.
But there was something more in the works this night. It was more than just, hey, I love you, I'll see you soon. It was, hey, we're going to try this thing with Lizzie tonight.
No, it was like, is Lizzie coming over? You know? I mean, I don't remember the texts or anything. but that's certainly something we might have.
Here's something we didn't discuss. Lizzie's naked when, except for maybe the thumb,
Yeah.
when she goes in the back of the car. And she's wrapped in the tarp. But where are her clothes? You mentioned when we were out on the little bluff there that I gave the stuff to the other people and what they did with it, I don't know. What stuff did you get from them?
Some rings and bracelets and jewelry that I had on me from her, I assume.
Well, I mean, not that you assume. I mean, were they yours?
No, they weren't mine. They didn't
Were
look
they
like
cats?
anything cat wears, so.
What did they look like?
One was kind of gold with, but it'd be easier to drop. I remember one ring distinctly. The rest, the bracelets were just generic, like metal.
Gold, you said?
Looked gold, could have been brass or bronze. I didn't stop
Let's
to
grab your pen there.
evaluate.
Do you mind drawing for us?
I'll draw what I can remember.
Well, that's all we can ask.
The bracelets, they were the very, like, thin ones. I remember them being kind of like that, like they looked like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would sit like that. And the ring I remember, it was something like, that, and then wrapped around. And these were actual gaps in the ring itself.
Mm-hmm. Was there a stone up on top?
Yes. Maybe. It didn't strike me as, like, fancy. It was just pretty.
Mm-hmm.
What color was that ring?
Goldish
Gold?
kind of tone. And maybe a red inset, like from the stone. And then the others just seemed generic.
What else did you have? Rings?
Yeah.
How many did you have?
3 rings, 2 bracelets that I had while out on the bluff that I handed to others.
3 more gold rings?
No.
You mean generic?
Just kind of stuff you'd buy, like almost like simple cheap jewelry, like $10 a piece deal stuff. That's what it struck me as.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
When did you take that off?
I had them. They were in a bag. And they were in the car.
Plastic bag?
Yeah.
Good.
Like one of the Ziplocs in my apartment. I recognized the type immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. It would have been right there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's. I remember a bag in the car. I happened to be the one who grabbed it.
So,
And he got out to move the bodies, and then.
so the jewelry was in the bag before you left the apartment?
I guess.
Stands to reason, right? There's no
Yeah,
Ziploc
I
bag.
guess so. I mean, why would we be bagging it in the car?
Why would you take the jewelry off in the apartment? Whose idea was that?
I don't know, but.
I know why, but I'm asking.
I know it would be a safety thing amongst, I know from a pure, I might play this way or that way perspective, jewelry is very dangerous if you hurt someone with it.
Okay.
So that would have been, could have been anybody's idea.
Yeah, but in this situation, do you think that possibly that jewelry was removed for another reason?
Like what?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Well, was Kat's jewelry in a plastic bag? Or
No.
Roberta's jewelry in a plastic bag? Well, here you go.
Kat lives there, she has a jewelry box.
Okay.
Well, for it.
She comes over a lot. She doesn't have a box or anything, but she knows the apartment well enough to know. Like, if I put it here with my keys or there, it's an odd thing. All my friends have a different spot. They like all walk in and they put their keys and their stuff here, their keys and their stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
She usually does that sort of thing. Like, she just picks a spot and puts whatever's needed there. I don't remember if or how much jewelry she ever wears. She doesn't strike me as a jewelry type, but I've never really thought to note that about her.
How about this? Kat is now in the room. She is upset, not upset? What's her demeanor?
I remember excited before everything went on. After that, I don't.
And during this excitement, I know all four of you are in the room. It's only a one-room apartment. I assume that all four of you were engaged in this act. Walk me through how that is.
I don't know. And I don't know.
There was some time after Lizzie died that you were in the room with her, in the apartment. Did you see anything else on her body?
The necklace was on her when we were moving her body to the bluff. That's why I remember that.
And what was that necklace? You said it was a cross or a heart. Which was it?
I don't remember. It was a cross or a heart.
Was it gold or silver?
Golden tone, could have been brass, probably gold. Don't know.
Were there any stones in it?
Not that I remember.
Did you notice anything else about her body?
That's what I mentioned before now. That's all I remember.
Well, we're at a difficult point. What you told me is that Lizzie died in your apartment and that you disposed of her body. I don't know that there's much difference between being the one who physically caused her death or being just a part of the act, because those are parts that you're leaving out. If Kat couldn't strangle her, that leaves you.
I mean, I don't think she has the strength to do something like that.
What do you think Roberta's going to say? What do you think Paul's going to say?
I'm expecting they'll have some whole other story.
Like what? What kind of they come up with?
They were fast to duck out.
They're still gonna say they were there during the death, though, right? Or do you think that they'll say they weren't?
I don't know if they would be as forward as I am. Paul is very calculated. He's got tactical training. I think he used to be a soldier or something. He's smart.
When you describe the other intimate encounters you have with multiple partners, you always describe that that Kat was in between you and the other person. Is that how this went down too?
I don't know.
You said that you're very safe when you have sex.
Yeah.
Do you wear a condom?
Yeah.
Did you wear a condom that night?
I assume so. I always, especially with strange people, I always do.
Mm-hmm. When we drove back to your place, you saw that there were police cars out front.
Mm-hmm.
So in your mind, you know that at some point we're going to be seeking to search that residence.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're worried about us finding in there?
I'm just worried about you letting my cat out.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Just be nice to her.
How about the condom? Did you penetrate Lizzie? I mean, this is something that if Lizzie's DNA is on the outside and yours is on the inside, you don't need to ejaculate for that DNA to be there.
Yeah.
That's something that we come across. How else could we explain that?
No, I don't know. I don't know, and I would like to know where Kat is if I could.
Okay, she's at Newington.
There you go. I forgot to tell you that one now.
I didn't want to interrupt you before, but she's at Newington.
Okay.
She's fine. Everything's...
Hey, let me ask you something about that. While we're on that topic of the intercourse and the kind of the play that went on there, was there any play after Lizzie died?
No.
No exploration?
No.
So
No.
that everything leading up to that was kind of like the heightened eroticism, and it was after she died there was nothing.
From what I remember, we did not do anything. We were all panicked. We were all dealing with. We were all trying to figure out what to do afterwards. The last thing on our minds was something like that.
Well, you remember those details, yes?
I remember in the car panicking.
No.
Uh,
You told us you remember specifically right at that point, because there's no play after.
Which point?
The point when you realized that it was dead. No play afterwards, right?
Right.
Okay. So you remember that? Make sense?
Okay.
Well, that's forwarding to the car.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So no, you vividly remember that nothing happens because you're panicked.
I remember muddled panic, and I remember
We're all trying to figure out what to do.
and I remember the car.
Okay, so let's back up.
I remember the car.
Let's get out of the car. Let's go back just a second. You're all panicked, right? Trying to figure out what to do.
I guess.
Well, you just said.
I know I felt pain.
Okay.
That's what I know. I know when I try to go there mentally, there's panic.
Okay.
A lot of panic.
See panic on Cat's face?
Fear, panic.
How about Roberta and Paul?
Roberta's in shock. She's processing. Like she couldn't. It was, I mean, she understood, and Paul, for all his guarded, was wide-eyed.
Okay. Is everyone naked? What's Roberta wearing? You remember?
Not naked at this point.
Okay, what's she wearing?
Jeans.
Okay.
I was in probably sweatpants. That's
Wow.
my go-to.
Okay.
Paul
All naked?
I remember jeans.
We're talking at the specific point when everyone's in a panic. Will you remember them being panicked?
I remember the panic.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying. I know the clothes they had with them were these. I don't know who was wearing what where when.
How about Lizzie? What's Lizzie wearing at this point? You told us once. What's she wearing?
Lizzie is down to that necklace and
Is she on her back?
yeah.
Now that you remember that falling in a lighted situation,
A blue color.
something struck me when you said, Scott had asked where they dressed, and you said they were at that point. Before you say anything else, let me just tell you that there's no other way to interpret that other than at one point you remember they were naked, at one point you remember they were clothed.
Yeah, that's really what I'm saying. I don't know.
So the point when they were all naked, everybody's naked, yourself included? Well, can we safely assume that if you had a condom on, your pants weren't on?
If yes, but I don't. I feel like something went wrong, and I feel like I didn't get that involved. But I don't remember. I don't know. I can't see it. I can't see it, and I don't like that. I can't see it in my mind.
Let's talk about what could have caused the lines on Lizzie's neck. You told me that when we were pulling in, you said, what scared me was there was a line, and on one side it looked like she was alive, and on the other side it looked like she was dead.
Yeah.
So what caused that? And here's the reason I asked that. If you're looking at her body with the line on it, then the implement that caused that is in very, very close proximity. You yourself said it is a one-room apartment.
Yeah.
What caused that? If we get to a point where we're standing in your apartment,
yeah,
are we going to find that item, or did you get rid of it? Someone got rid of it.
I haven't seen anything on the floor in the last couple of days that would make sense.
That's all right. If you tell me that somebody got rid of it, then we know for certain that you knew what it was.
No, someone got rid of whatever. I didn't.
I'm not saying that you're even there. I'm just saying that you know what it was. I'm not asking you to make the leap and say, I was standing over a well, this happened. But I am telling you that it's implausible for me to believe that you remember the details that Scott just pointed out. I mean, those are vivid details. Just after this young lady, she's lost her life. You remember that. You remember seeing the marks on her neck. You remember the chain around her neck. You remember a blue thong. But you don't remember what was used to choke her. This is the first time tonight that I'll tell you that I think that you're being dishonest with me. The rest of the time I can say, no, he wasn't being dishonest. He was just working his way around to telling me the truth.
And that sort of thing, it could have enhanced. It didn't look like this pointed, clean something. I mean, there was a division, but it...
Did somebody choke this brother? I mean, let's just put it right on the table. Somebody choke her to death.
Even if this was an accident,
Mm-hmm.
whoever out of that group might have done that.
Yeah.
You're not gonna help them out that much. I mean,
I know what you're saying.
they did a wrong thing. And
You know what the sense I get from that is? More and more, I believe that, unfortunately, it was you who took this young girl's life, and what you're trying to figure out in your head is,
I'm trying to protect my friends.
how much do I tell them, and how much do I keep inside? And I come back to the same things. How much do you think Roberta, Paul, the one person you said had this look of horror was Roberta. What do you think she's going to say? Do you think that she's going to be in a protection mode? She's not going to be in a protection mode. She's going to be in an, oh my God, I can't believe I just saw this shit. I want to get it off my chest. Thank God you're here to talk to me. I've been trying to keep it quiet. I've been trying not to think about it. I can't live another day without telling you. The question that we are at is, did this young girl get choked to death? Accident? Or did she say, I'm not down for this, I don't want to be a part of it, and that was the only way to remedy the situation? They had gone too far at that point. You tell me.
And then an accident happened.
I believe that. But you need to help me believe it. You need to make sure that I think it's the truth. And the way to do that is to keep talking to me and tell me we were all having fun. And what does that mean? And what happened next?
Even if I walked out of here now, you'd just have me back in.
Well, as we've discussed on a number of occasions, you can walk out that door at any point. You can ask me to give you a ride anywhere at any time. You can tell me you want to turn off the recording. You know that all of those things are options for you. And each time that I tell you that, you tell me, I want to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, now I would like to turn the recording off, please. My head's spinning. I need rest. I can't.
Okay.
I I mean, I don't want to like walk out and cost myself something, but my head's spinning. I don't know half of what I'm saying. I'm tired. I haven't eaten. I haven't seen Kat.
I'm going to honor your request. And before I turn that off, is there anything else that you'd like to say? Keeping in mind that I'm going to honor your request and turn off the recording. I'm giving you that option before I turn off the recording.
I just want to say thank you, and I hope, I mean, thank you for how much you've been with me through this. And that I certainly, I want to help, but I need time to recover a little bit. This is a lot.
Oh, I know it's
And I know you know that, and
Right.
I need that time.
Okay.
And I miss the people that I love, and I want to see them. I want to see my cat. It just.
Okay. It's approximately 2,200 hours. I'm going to turn off the recording. Yeah, Brian, can you flip that one? Here's and turn on both recorders again. If you don't mind.
I don't know if one's on.
Might as well, right?
Yeah. If there's already one on, I don't see the harm anymore.
Okay. It's approximately 22:55 hours on October 12th. This is a continuation of a conversation with Seth. And Seth, pronounce your last name for me? Mazzaglia. And also in the room is Trooper First Class Brian Strong. And Sergeant, excuse me, Scott. And Scott, can you pronounce your last name for me? Pettengill. Yep. And we had turned off the recording earlier at your request.
Yeah.
And I've asked you, would you be comfortable with us recording a conversation further?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I'm a little edgy. I won't
Yep.
lie. I'm edgy. At this point, I'm edgy. I'm panicked. I'm scared. But I'm calmer, and I understand that now.
Okay.
And so yes, I'm okay with it. I don't promise I won't get skittish again, because as you assessed, I'm the type who prefers to go towards honesty rather than away.
Yeah.
And when things get a little close to the mark and I'm uncomfortable with them, I frazzle. And yes, I think a lot of people do actually.
Well, here's what I can tell you. All the ground rules still apply.
Okay.
Before I turn on the recording, what I said to you is, if you want to leave, if you want me to drive you back to your car, if you just want me to turn off the recording, if you don't want to answer questions, you tell me. All right? All those things are still on the table, and I will abide by, just like I did when you asked me to turn off the recording.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me to do something else, I'll do that. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I thought was interesting when you, with what you just said to me was, so well, when we get close to stuff and when you start to talk about things, I frazzle. And I understand that. I understand that because you were good with me, really, right up until the point where we talked about Lizzie being choked. Everything up to that point, yeah, it hasn't been the easiest conversation. You've been pretty good, and obviously I'm very thankful for that. But I could tell that even the disposal of Lizzie's body, even tossing her into the water, that wasn't what caused you consternation. What caused you the stress is talking about how she died. And I can get that. But together, we got to get over that hump. I'd be lying to you if I said that we could just ignore how she died and go with, we threw her in the water. It's not fair to you because we're going to have the 3 other stories. And it's certainly not fair to Lizzie. But most of all, it's not fair to her family. For me to go to them, and of course I haven't said to them, I'm with a man who told me that you threw your daughter in the water. But when I do, what they're going to ask me is, how did this happen? And I don't know that I can go to them and tell them that without knowing. I wouldn't go to your parents. I wouldn't want somebody to go to my parents and not be able to tell them this is what happened. And I get the feeling that you want to tell us. And what I was hoping was, and just so we cover this for the purpose of the recording, when the recording was off, I made a specific point to tell you we aren't going to talk about the facts of the case. And did we talk about the facts of the case? Did you talk about the facts of the case?
It was in my brain, but we did get away from the topic as much as we could.
And we did that because I wanted to be very honest with you and tell you, well, we're not being recorded. I don't want to talk about it. But now that we are, and we're having this conversation, I know that the most difficult point of this entire event is what happens when there are hands around Lizzie's neck. And I know that it's going to be a struggle for you to get over that hump. But just like I knew that you would write on that piece of paper where her body is at, I know that you'll tell me. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You're too good a person to have come this far to not tell me what happened in those moments. And we're way, way beyond, I think the best thing about taking a break, we're way beyond the blacked out and I don't remember. You know that I know that that's not true because of what Kat told me. I know that that's not true because of some of the things that you've told me. What I am certain of is that you don't want to remember that event.
No, I don't.
But for one time in your life, right now, as we sit here, I need you. I need you to because there is no way that I can go to Lizzie's family and tell them, your daughter is dead, just don't know how. I told you that I wouldn't leave you, and I haven't. You told me, well, if I tell you where her body is, then what are you going to do? You take me to jail?
Yeah.
But I didn't. I told you I'd stay with you, that we'd go through this together. And I believe that. And you should believe that at this point. But we have to go through the most difficult part of this together right now. When we left off, you told me Lizzie was on her back in the bed.
Not in the bed.
Okay. Where was she?
Floor.
Okay. And how did this happen? Did it go from playing to something more for gratification? Was it a fantasy?
It was playing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Remember what I told you. This will be the hardest part of our night together. But once we're done with it, then only easier things can come.
But will I see there? Can't be close.
Do you understand the situation I'm in?
I do. And
Lizzie was,
that's why I'm trying to get past. I just want you to know what's in my head.
and I want you to be able to tell me that. Lizzie's on the floor. Is she on her back? Is she naked?
No, the thong is on.
Okay.
But it's a thong. It's not stopping.
It's not stopping people having sex.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Remember what I said? It only gets easier when you get this part out. Look at me, Seth. Tell me what happened.
There's experimentation.
Okay?
And a little bit of the asphyxiation play, not safe, not vicious or anything, happens.
It's you and her. I mean, I think we're at that point where we can say,
I'd rather not.
we'll come back to it. Talk to me about asphyxiation. It's playful.
It's playful, and she starts to seize. I know a seizure when I see one. I recognized what I saw as, what's the position called? I believe it was decorticate posture.
What makes you think that she's seizing as opposed to she just can't breathe?
Because someone who can't breathe, I think they would fight, they would claw, and that didn't happen.
You said that the thong wasn't stopping you. Were you inside her while this was going on?
I, at one point, may have taken a turn in the group behaviors.
But it's more than that. It's not, let's remember that for the sake of this young lady, we'll say plainly, it's not behaviors. It was having sex. And when I say, were you inside her, I'm asking, did you have sex with her? Did you penetrate? And if you tell me I took part in those behaviors, I mean, I can read between the lines, but I don't want to. I want to be very clear. Did you penetrate?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. You said that the asphyxiation play was going on. What was that like?
It was brief. She seized almost immediately.
What was it? What was the asphyxiation play? told me before that you thought that.
I know there were hands involved.
Okay. So her breathing around her neck had been choked off by hands.
There is more, but I'd rather not say.
Seth, when you say to me there is more, but I'd rather not say,
It's because I want to say it, I'm just working my way there.
I thought so.
Yeah, that's right. You're getting to know me.
A little bit.
There were some ropes, cotton cord, like you get at the supermarket involved. Those were disposed of.
Where? We're laying it all on the table.
Yeah.
We'll hold them back this time.
At one point,
Mm-hmm.
one of the ropes was around her neck. I go out of my way to keep the knot safe, but I wasn't the one tying everything.
Okay.
And I frankly, I should have been because I know better. And it got stuck. She started seizing.
So, as I envision this in my mind, you're having sex with her. What I'm lost at is, are you using your hands as well as the rope? Was the hands not really true, and it was just the rope? What's going on?
Started with that seemed okay, and then hands caused this because, okay, seems okay, just a little more, see what, be careful, but then all of a sudden the seizing started, and then she stopped breathing.
What was Lizzie doing with just the rope? You were having sex with her while the rope was around her neck. What was her response to that?
It was some neutral, it wasn't excitement. It was, but it wasn't she had a safe gesture and a safe word.
Mm-hmm. What was the safe gesture?
I know my favorite safe word is teddy bear. The gesture.
The gesture was?
It wasn't one I came up with.
Sorry.
It's not my normal line. Because of the sign language, I have dozens I use. It depends on the people in the room, but I wasn't the one that came up with it, and
Don't be embarrassed by it.
I should have. Again, I knew better in this. I was the one with the experience, not in this particular act, but in general acts of this sort of nature. I had the experience to know better, but
But I got away.
yeah.
So what was the gesture? not gonna pass judgment on you because of the gesture. I just need to know what it is. Hand, wrist, flick, that's a tough one. What are we talking about?
It,
Just show it to me.
like that kind of a thing, just, let me know. Something that's distinct, so that if someone's like grabbing, it doesn't accidentally look like that, you know, so we know, okay, panic, or, you know, okay, you know, it was distinctive, but.
And that brings up a great point. I'm trying to envision, as she lay there, what I envision is that you're between her legs, she's on her back, and that you're holding her neck. But what I can't figure out is, where are her hands? What is she doing?
By the point where anyone was in that position, the hands, that's, initially they were just there as, you know, oh, okay, you know, no hard grip, no panic. And then the season started, and that's when everybody panicked.
Your hands. But where were hers? That's what I'm asking.
No, that's what I mean.
She was,
Not,
her hands were just back? You had said to me, I didn't want...
They ended up seizing in eventually.
So they ended up
like this kind of thing, which is part of the decorticate kind of, but that's after the seizure.
But before the seizure, she didn't grab at your hands?
There was no panic, everything.
No, I'm not saying panic.
The individual.
I'm not saying panic. I just, when you said, I didn't want this,
Yeah, they weren't doing that.
I didn't want this to be confused with this.
Yeah.
And what that tells me is that this was going on. I'm not saying she was panicking.
No. That's, I mean, it wasn't like this. This is, we wanted to make sure that either this or that gesture, which not one of my normal ones. I don't.
Was she holding your hands?
No.
She starts to seize.
Yeah.
And what happens after that?
She stops breathing. And it's not something I've dealt with before, medically speaking.
So,
I mean, we got the rope off the neck.
how did you get that off?
It was, the knot was bad, but it wasn't stupid. It was, you know, we were able to get it off, but by then, she was, I mean, there was like the twitches, but we couldn't hear or detect, like, there was no pulse, and that's, yeah, and that's when quotes started going on, and we started figuring out what we were going to do.
That period of time that you've just described, from the time that you're having sex with her, have your hands around her neck, she seizes, and then you stop. Does anything continue beyond that?
No.
So you stop right there. That's it.
That we stopped. That's
How
the moment
long?
something goes wrong, we stop.
How long after that moment until you decide she's dead?
Frankly, I can't give you a time stamp. I know we checked pulse several times.
Where did you check her pulse?
Carotid, radial,
For a layman, explain to me where you're talking about.
up by the neck,
Mm-hmm.
down by the hands, and there was...
Your carotid?
Yeah. the
Your
carotid,
radial? Anywhere else?
The dorsal on the foot.
Checked in on her foot?
Yeah, anywhere, just to see if we could get anything, but I couldn't feel anything except my own heart racing. And Roberta had a similar problem. She couldn't detect anything pulse-wise. She wasn't sure if she was feeling the pulse or just feeling her own pulse. And she was just she was lying there, and then that's the panic. There was no movement, there was no pulse.
How about Paul?
I'd rather not say.
I know that you'd rather not say. And I won't hold your feet to the fire to make you say. But I also know you well enough to know at this point that when you tell me, Joe, I'd rather not say, that means I need a couple minutes to build up the steam to tell you. But nevertheless, I know that you'll tell me. If you want me to wait a couple of minutes, I will. But if you want to be honest and just tell me what Paul was doing, I gotta tell you, I'd appreciate that. What about his involvement in so hard for you? You don't talk about him as if he's your best friend.
I don't know. And frankly,
Yeah.
I think he, for all my fighting skill, I think he could take me down, he could hurt me.
Okay.
I think he's stronger right now. I'm out of shape, I'm smart, but he's got experience from something and I don't know what. It's an unknown quantity to me.
Well, how about this? The fact that you have such great concern about what it was that was going on with Paul tells me that it's either embarrassing or you judged it as over the top. So that leads me to two conclusions. There was some homosexual activity going on, or there was something over the top going on. So, which of the two is it? You know, I'm not here to judge.
There was no homosexual.
Okay.
There was a line crossed, and I wasn't going to challenge him on it when I was concerned for my own safety and Cap's, and even Roberta's. I know they're close.
Nobody's going to hold that against you, but it seems almost crazy to me that you wouldn't tell me what that is. Because it sounds to me like whatever that was had some bearing on the events of the night. What was he doing that you thought was over the line? It's another man's activity.
Yeah.
Was it you?
Hmm?
Were you involved in this over-the-top activity? All right. So he engages in this activity, and you don't feel like you can say no. Okay.
I'd like a few minutes to breathe.
Okay. Why don't you sit back? Relax.
Actually, with this chair.
Can't go far, right?
I'm gonna stare.
Let's take a break. You mind if I leave the recorder on? We talk about other stuff.
Sure.
You told me you were in the players ring.
Yeah.
And over at Bow Street?
Yeah.
Give me some Bow Street trivia.
Oh, not offhand, I'd have to, I'd Google it.
Here's a Bow Street fact that, at the risk of being mocked by the two gentlemen in the room, I was in the very first play that was at the Bow Street Theater. I was in, do you know who Papa is?
The Papa Camp?
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was in there as a kid.
Oh, wow.
Over the Button Factory. Used to be over the Button Factory, and then I went to the Bow Street Theater. Yeah. It was cool. I don't know that the kids I went to school with saw it that way.
Wow. Yeah.
But, nevertheless, it's the truth. I had a good time there. It was kind of a neat little theater. I haven't been back in a while. They did a Les Mis, yep, they did a recreational Les Mis. It was good, but it's hard because it's such a small stage. But it was pretty good. So what else do you like to do? Dungeons and Dragons.
A little bit of Dungeons and Dragons. Roberta's the one who got me into the group that I'm hanging out with.
Yep.
For that. Not something Paul does with us. I don't know if he works those nights or where he is or what. I know I haven't seen him play. Cat's gone along once. I hadn't been to that many meetings. I just picked up a bunch of new books so I could start a group up myself. I was really looking forward to doing all that. I've been doing theater. I've been getting a little tired of it because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to focus more on emergency medical and like firefighting, getting fit, and even just my job at Best Buy. I mean, it's not much. I sell video games.
But you enjoy it, right?
Yeah, how important can it be? But at least it's something I know about. And, people come in and I'm the man. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm always trying to help them get the better bargains. It's one of those absurd things in sales. Like, I don't want to run them. I know how expensive these things get. I want them to just be able to have fun. I don't want it to be about, oh yes, let's sell $800 of this or that today.
Mm-hmm. Do you get a commission?
No.
So that's good. That means that you could be a true, hey, I'm here to help you, as opposed to, hey, I'm here to sell you something.
And that's, I sometimes joke about the whole, all right, I'm here to sell you something. Like, I'll make it as a joke, as an opening line in the sale. But at the same time, it's really about, what would their family enjoy? What kinds of games would help their kids grow the most? What would help the family? What would be the most fun and interesting?
Right, can you see if you can get your hands on 2 AAA batteries? Perfect. And how does that work out? You find that most people are pretty receptive?
Like 13, 14 customers that I know of, customer service interaction, CSIs we call them, that are, stellar.
Mm-hmm.
Last I knew, I had about 13 of them, and I had a perfect record. Like just straight 100, they were all pleased. So I haven't checked them since then. It's probably been a couple of days, maybe a week.
So they do them all the time?
They are on the bottom of every receipt, so we try to point them out, write our name in, and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. Here's...
Do you get if you don't mind, all I'm going to do is just put 2 new batteries in my recorder. So I'm going to turn off this recorder approximately 23, 25, and I'm just going to put new batteries in the that recorder's still going, as well as the room. Having said that, you were saying, do you get a bonus or something?
We get some rewards here and there that can turn into, like, a savings on this or a coupon on that. It also, though, partially determines, like, how many hours we get in a week, things like that.
Really?
Not as much, but it does matter. Like, someone who customers like more tends to get more hours.
Yeah.
And they...
so, in essence, you do get a bonus, because you get...
Kinda, yeah, but, it's more work.
Right.
But at least it's more work that leads to pay, which
I turn that recording back on, it's approximately 23:26. You're okay with me turning that recorder on? All right, appreciate that. Yeah, that's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Hey, congratulations, we're gonna help you out.
Yeah,
We're gonna let you work more.
Yeah, congratulations, you're doing great. Here are more hours.
Yeah.
Thanks, just what I needed. I spend enough time not at home, not around Kat.
How many hours do you spend there a week?
I'm scheduled anywhere between 28 and 35 hours. I'm formally part-time, so I'm not supposed to go over 32 hours, but it's not uncommon for me to. Just as we get to closing, and either, like tonight was one of those nights, 7:30. I sometimes, like with that, they're trying to cut back the labor hours, but they need someone to close.
Makes sense.
On the 7:30 nights, I haven't historically stayed through. Someone else, like a supervisor, takes the duty. But on other days and nights, I have stayed as much as 40-something minutes, or 30 minutes. Like, I stay late routinely, even if I show up pretty punctually.
They must be pretty happy with you.
They, generally they seem to be. I've been there for a couple of months, 2.5, maybe pushing 3 now. My official hire date was late August. So, we're getting to I've been around long enough for them to know me. Yeah. And and I've been busting my butt to prove that, you take the chance on me. I deliver. I'm a good guy. I can do this. I'm smart. I can figure it out.
I bet they appreciate that.
Yeah. I don't know how much they'll appreciate it after all of whatever this is.
You know something, maybe it's a simple thing we can talk about that, and since we already covered it, we covered it in detail. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, we had talked about a timeline. When the 4 of us sat down, we had talked about a timeline. You gave me a timeline. But that timeline proved to be
Evolved.
Yeah.
It's one way to put it. It's the way I...
That's probably the nicest way.
Evolved.
It evolved into the truth.
Yeah.
So, what I did want to ask you, though, about that is, what of that timeline is true?
Time I got out of work, I know on that Tuesday...
7:30-ish?
It would have been later, because I wasn't certain if they needed me till close. I would have gotten out probably closer to 7:40-something, 7:50. Just because I was trying to get to my supervisor to say, hey, it was the first time I'd been on an 11 to 7:30 shift with one other guy in the morning until early afternoon, but no one's closing. I mean, I had done closing before myself, but, and they explained it to me as like they're saving up labor hours and trying to build up the time so they can start having people be like open and in and then all the way to close.
Yeah.
But they also were trying to keep people in, I guess, sort of the prime time of when we get the business is when they really wanted hands on deck the most, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just good business. And so, I was confused, and I was sort of fishing around like, hey, this is kind of odd. Who's coming on after me? I remember we were having a computer system problem. We couldn't figure out who was on the schedule. None of us could get in, only supervisors could. I don't remember.
Were you a little bit frustrated because you thought, I got a plan, and my plan is to go home and have...
No,
I mean, you told us you were thinking about it on the ride home.
Yeah, it had been in my mind, but it's not like I was getting frustrated with it. I'd already, and I may have even sent texts to Kat to the extent saying like, hey, they might need me to stay on, I don't know. I hope, like she knows I've been, especially because I've been trying to prove myself to them that I go out of my way like that. And
how about any conversation in those texts about Lizzie?
It would have been just like a, hey, is she coming over, do you know, because we're used to friends bailing on us at the last minute. It would have been nothing more than to check about that, oh yeah, she might be at this time. And
who's your cell phone carrier?
Verizon.
Okay. But you don't remember saying, anything sexual, or
No.
I'm looking forward to this, or?
No, nothing, nothing like that. I wasn't even sure if anything would happen. It was one of those very, show up very easing, experimental, everybody talk, everybody get comfortable, everybody get to know each other, It was a very slow thing leading up to a very fast set of events that then went horrendously wrong, and then led to epic effing fail in terms of solution.
What is that,
It's that pin
Hot
from
Topic?
Hot Topic, yeah, that pin. I think I'm going to declare that solution just that.
Well, in terms of the timeline, what time do you think you left work?
7:40, 7:50 would have been more like it.
Did you really take the turnpike home?
I believe I did. I'm pretty sure I went right home. Out of that timeline to nitpick, I was more worried about the events afterward, and that's more what I've been obsessing over, like, what do I say, what do I do, what do I say, what do I do, than what I did before. Obviously a hole in the logic of the whole thing, but,
So you drove home from work.
Yeah.
What time did you get home from work?
8 something-ish, probably 8:15.
When you come in, well, did you stop anywhere on the way home?
Not that I remember.
Well, if we took a
I
couple
mean, I
of
could have
seconds,
sat and read, the radio, like, I could have sat and listened to the radio.
did you go to any stores?
I know we've been having problems keeping like enough milk and cider and lemonade. It's not impossible that I went by the supermarket. I don't remember. I really just don't remember.
What time do you think you actually got to the mill?
And I know you need specific times.
Give me a ballpark. I mean, if you left work at what time?
7:40, 7:50-ish, I'd have been home by around, if I went straight, 8:10. If I did pick up something small like that, like a, hey, honey, can you grab this or that, it would have put me closer to 8:30, 8:40.
Okay. When you walk in the door, I think everyone in the room knows that what we had talked about initially was you walked in and this was already done, and we know that not to be the case. So back me up now that we know that that's not how it happened. When you walked in the door, what goes on?
Hey, how are you? It's good to see you again.
To Lizzie?
Yeah.
How about to Roberta and Paul?
Yeah. With, just a basic, hey, how are you?
Is anybody drinking, anybody smoking, anybody taking any other type of drug?
No.
So everyone's sober.
Yeah.
And then, what's going on? What are they doing? Can you tell me this? You came right out and you told me. Yeah. When we get to parts where I'm real nervous and I don't want to talk, I start to push away. I guess when you walk in the door, doesn't strike me as a time when you would be frazzled. But there's something there. Clearly you remember it. Something there. What is it that you see? What goes on that makes you, that gives you, pause, gives you nerves? What's going on?
I don't want to say.
Well, how about...
Not, and this isn't typewriter, I just don't want to say.
Okay. But if I ask you, if I give you a basic scenario, would you tell me if I'm close?
Yeah.
You're saying when you walk in, there's something that you see that makes you instantly fearful, scared. You tell me the emotion.
Edgy. Concerned.
I guess that as I think of all the things in my mind that you walk in and you see, the thing that would stand out to me the most is that somehow there was less than free will on the part of Lizzie. That would certainly make me nervous. If I were you and I came home and I saw something, I was excited. The prospect I might be able to have sex with this girl, we might be able to have a threesome, a foursome, whatever the case may be. But then there was this little change, like maybe is she here voluntarily? Is she not here voluntarily? That would really give me pause. And I'm just guessing, but as a guy who's been involved in multiple partner sex, who's been involved in some bondage, been involved in pushing the envelope a little, right?
Yeah.
You push that envelope a little bit, that's normal for you. But when you walked in that day, you saw something that made you think, this is even further than I go. How about this? You want to get a little air? I want to be very honest with you. We can go, we'll take a walk. We don't need to go outside.
Yeah.
Friggin' freezing out.
Yeah.
We'll take a walk. Same thing, I'd like to keep the recorders on if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We'll take a walk. But what you saw when you walked in that door, that's what I need. Whatever that piece is that you're holding, Paul, whatever you saw that gave you pause, that's the piece to the puzzle that I don't have. I have to have. Why do I have to have it? Because it puts it all together. And who do I have to tell that to? Whose family? Lizzie's. So we take a walk. Let's take a walk.
Anyone thinks to check in, and she probably has enough food for the day, and she's getting hungry now.
I'll be right back, Brett. If you don't mind that. Actually, Seth.
Seth, I'll be right with you.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Use a different chair.
Yeah, grab that chair right there.
I just want to make sure my cat's taken care of. I want to make sure that that Cat herself knows that I love her, and that
Is what you told Joe in the other room the complete truth? You're sure?
I don't know what the others will say, but yes. At this point, all I've got is my word against theirs. If someone else says, oh, someone else did it,
Sure.
I've only got my word against theirs.
So when this event happened, there was just the three of you in your apartment. Kat, Lizzie, and me.
And then later, Roberta showed up with Paul. I wasn't expecting Paul.
Okay.
Along with
When they showed up, where was Lizzie when they showed up?
on the floor. Lying on her back.
Same spot as to where?
Same spot.
Okay. What did you discuss?
What the hell to do? I wasn't thinking. I wanted, what do we do? How do we deal with this? I want to make the world a better place, and then I fuck up like this and talk about ethics
not done, so,
It was mine in a state of panic.
okay. Have you ever been to that spot that you, how'd you know about that spot?
Kat told me.
So Kat was there before?
She'd taken walks there with friends when she was young.
So you two jumped in her vehicle, Lizzie's vehicle. Roberta, Paul, followed you,
Roberta and Paul went away.
went away.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you got to the river, it was just you, Lizzie,
And the body.
and Kat. So Kat helped you just dispose of the body. You got back to the vehicle. Where'd you go from there?
Drove it up to UNH.
Okay.
Left it in Maxwell, like I said.
Sure. All right. So now you're without a vehicle.
We walked home.
You walked home from there.
On foot. Yeah.
What time do you think you got to UNH?
I remember the bell ringing over the harbor at Portsmouth. When we were finished, it was 3 something.
3 something in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
And from UNH, it would have been 4 something when we started walking back.
What time do you remember getting back to your place?
6 something a.m., 6:15 maybe.
Which route did you take walking back?
Walked along one way.
Okay. So you went by the Hannaford, it's kind of like you jogging
Yeah.
route?
Yeah.
Okay.
Used essentially my jogging route, but the full 5 miles from UNH.
Sure.
Instead of just sitting out the back.
Did you guys stop at a convenience store or anything, get anything to drink, eat?
No.
No?
We remembered being thirsty as hell. But we were waiting till we got home. We weren't thinking clearly. We were not sure what the hell we were doing or to do about it.
And what time do you think you got back to your apartment?
6 a.m.
6 a.m.?
At that point, I had been carrying both the cell phones, so wherever I went, her cell and my cell went. I just wanted to make sure she didn't lose her cell phone, because she forgets it so often.
How about her clothes? Where are her clothes?
Lizzie's?
Lizzie's clothes.
I don't see her somewhere.
The dumpster somewhere after you left Portsmouth and before UNH, or after UNH?
Probably out at UNH.
What do you mean probably? Yes or no?
We had several different aspects of hers and of ours, and we dropped them in different locations, but I didn't do that part. That's
So, Kat,
Kat
Okay.
did that. I
Well-
don't know the downstairs.
what were some of the items that belonged to you that were disposed of? You and or Kat?
Every bit of cotton cord I owned. You know, clothes we were wearing that night,
All right, well, tell me about what were you wearing for clothes that you got rid of?
sort of clothes.
Sweatpants? What,
Favorite pair of boots.
what kind of boots are they?
They were like these, just Magnums from 10 years ago.
So they're black like those? Looks like a police style, military style boot?
Yeah.
Okay, what size?
10 and a half.
10 and a half? So you had sweatpants, military boot style.
Yeah, I mean, they're technically construction.
Okay. You had a sweatshirt? Sweatshirt?
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Hoodie.
Okay, did you get rid of any clothing that Kat had?
Yeah, eventually some pants and a hoodie, or, well, some pants and whatever jacket or tie. I don't remember if there was a hoodie. I was not thinking clearly.
What about her footwear?
A pair of Converse sneakers.
So when do you actually take those clothes off, change into new clothes, or you get home if you dispose of them after you drop the vehicle off at UNH? Were you in those clothes when you dumped her body in the river? Yeah. Okay, so when did you change into new clothes?
We had outfits with us. It wasn't until we got home. And then that's when we changed and we showered and we tried to forget and we stressed and then we tried to forget and then we stressed and we talked about it and then we stressed. And
So you didn't dispose of your clothes right that morning? Or did you go home after you dropped the body off before bringing the vehicle to UNH?
No, we took the vehicle to UNH and we walked back.
In the clothes that you were wearing?
Yes.
So you got back to your apartment wearing those clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you dispose of those clothes?
That day.
Now, you originally told me you were disposing them along the way back from UNH to your place in various dumpsters. So what are we
It's a
talking
mix.
about?
Some of it was,
Okay.
like the clothes we had been wearing during, that had to do with the sex. That got thrown on the way. The outfits, and that was all just stashed in bags. I was looking through most of it. And then the rest was later on, the next day, or yesterday. I know we were driving around a bit. We went to go see a movie and try and get our heads together.
So which dumpster, where did you throw your clothes?
Clothes were in a food-heavy dumpster in Dover. No, those clothes were Sawyer Mills, the back dumpster.
At your apartment?
Near
Okay.
Yeah.
All of the clothes you were wearing and Kat was wearing?
That's what,
Okay. And that was done yesterday?
that would have been done the morning, the Wednesday morning.
Which dumpster, Seth?
The one out in the overflow lot.
Yeah, out behind Tedeschi's way in the back there.
It's the parking lot way back out in the back there, that dumpster there.
Just to bring you up to speed, when you stepped out,
Yep.
we talked about the actual act, who was actually in the room when this took place. He confirmed that it was him, Kat, and Lizzie, only three. And he called Roberta. Okay? Roberta and Paul came down. All right, correct me if I go out of sequence, I'm trying to bring them up to speed. They came down. They had a discussion. What are we going to do? I asked who came up with the plan to bring her to the river, to dump her. Okay. I asked who knew about that location. You told me who? Who did you tell me? Kat. And I asked why Kat knew about that location, and what did you tell me?
The place she walked with.
Okay, so
She was young.
okay, so Kat was familiar with it. They drove down there, the three of them. Well, Lizzie, Kat, Seth, Paul. Paul and his girlfriend did not follow you. They left.
They left.
But we didn't get to the point where you told me where they're leaving. We
I
didn't
don't
get to
know.
that. Okay. They disposed of the body. Then you drive to UNH. You park the vehicle. You guys walk home on 108, which is his driving route.
Mhm.
During that time, they
And I
disposed
have
of...
never walked the whole way out,
Sure.
so I know the route.
Sure. During that walk, they're disposing of the clothes they were wearing during the sexual act. All the nylon rope he owns and or possesses.
Yeah,
Correct?
cotton cord.
The cotton cord.
Provided him for
Right. The cotton cord. And we didn't get to the jewelry, so I'm assuming the jewelry was done at
That
that.
was in a bag and got thrown in a dumpster.
On your walking trip back?
There was one odd stop in Pease Air Base where we threw a few things, the jewelry and the tarp went all in there. I know the tarp was.
Where was that?
One of the hotels, like the Marriott or something, just one of those lots.
Kind of important.
I could show you, so I don't remember which. I said this one, and then I threw the tarp there. Like, that's literally what I did.
Isn't the Marriott the only hotel in Pease?
I think this is one right next to the other, but anyway, it
It's
may
the
be.
one out on the corner of the street where you, if you were trying to go...
By the Red Hook Brewery?
Yes, but it's the other one.
Okay. The jewelry, why did you have the jewelry off? Certainly wasn't for safe play.
That came off during a game of strip poker, actually. We were allowing jewelry because none of us had that many clothes to begin with. I know it probably seems stupid, but jewelry became an allowed thing, like a couple bracelets or jewelry, and that's how that came off.
And where did Lizzie's clothes go?
A dumpster at UNH. I know Kat is the one who put those all in. I don't remember what was in what bag she was managing that. I was fried by that point. I had done most of the moving of the body myself, so.
Where was the dumpster at UNH?
There were some over, like, on the main street near the bars and stuff. One of those, and one out near the horse barns.
So you spread some of her clothes in one place, some of her in another?
Yeah.
And her shoes? You said she was wearing Chucks? Converse shoes?
Kat had a pair of Converse shoes.
What was Lizzie wearing?
I don't remember. I know it was probably the same shoes. I just know they were in with one of the bags with her clothes.
How about this part? Both Roberta and Paul came in.
Yeah.
They both gave a statement.
Yeah.
I bet you know the parts that are different. How about the big one? Was it a rope that asphyxiated this young lady?
It was it. I don't know because that she was still breathing or potentially able to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, men were there.
Well, who was there?
Robert and Paul.
So you're telling me that she was still able to breathe in some capacity. So how did you ensure that she didn't?
I wasn't, like I said, I thought, but then I waited too long, and then there was nothing there. And that's when I wrapped her in the tarp so I could move her.
When Roberta and Paul got there, where was she?
On the floor, on her back. Middle of floor-ish.
Is there something you're leaving out about both of them gave detailed statements as to something about her head? You leaving something out about that? Do you recall anything on, near, around her head? It's not something you forget. Seth.
I remember. It just,
Oh,
I'm sorry,
tell me about that. So,
it was part of a botched attempt to start moving her. I tried to grab 2 trash bags and some plastic bags. And I tried to fold her up in it. That failed epically. I couldn't stand looking at the face like that. I couldn't detect a pulse or breathing
What kind of plastic bag was it?
Hannaford.
Do you think if she was struggling to breathe, that putting plastic bags over her help would help?
Hindsight's 20/20 now.
I think just in the moment, that one should stand out to you. I give you the hindsight on most stuff. Tying a plastic bag around a person's head, that's not one of those ones you need to look back at hindsight and say, shit, I didn't know that would happen.
No, it was stupid. I was panicking, and I don't know what her vitals were there. My heart was pounding, I couldn't.
Are you sure she was dead when you put that plastic bag around her head?
I thought she was. I thought.
Some people would look at the plastic bag and say,
Yeah, it was insurance.
yeah. Was it insurance? Did you need to make sure that she was dead because you'd ejaculated in her while she was having a seizure?
I think I wasn't sure. I didn't want to see it. And yes, some part of me had the thought of what's going to happen. How will this end? And I panicked and I did that.
Because you weren't sure she was dead?
Because I couldn't tell either way, and I didn't want to look at it, and I couldn't. But I can't say either way. I mean, there's logic to that. I was emotional. I was acting out, panicking.
The portion of this that you told us, that you had sex with her, that you choked her, that Kat tightened the rope initially, that you finished tightening the rope. Is that true?
The rope was like I did a little bit of it, then she did it, and then I finished with it. And there was timeline to that.
Mm-hmm.
That took time.
How about Lizzie? She scared?
She was nervous, but she didn't stop. She didn't panic.
I mean, you're a large guy, you're on top of her.
Yeah, but then
She didn't panic, doesn't suggest to me necessarily that she welcomed the activity.
She wanted to try it, so we tried it. And
How about the end? Did you really have a seizure?
yeah, as far as I can tell, I mean, I'd never seen a response like that to asphyxiation of any type. Like it's just something about the arm and neck. They triggered her, and
You must have been tightening it pretty tight.
it was just one of those like, let's, just push it a little further. And then the seizure happened, and I didn't.
How about that second, right before the seizure happens? What's the look on Lizzie's face? enjoyment, fear?
Curiosity, experimentation, a bit of enjoyment. It was a little bit of everything.
How do you have the rope tied around like that? You keep gesturing with two hands. How is it that you have it tied?
We didn't tie it.
Well, how do you have it?
We held it.
Held it down?
Yeah, well, it was around, and we held it, and that way we could control it.
So there was no knots?
There were no knots.
You know how hard it would be to take a piece of rope, cotton rope, one piece on the back, one piece on the front, and then pull it to the point where you would kill a person? Just the schematics of you being inside her and holding it.
It wasn't that it
Did you really put your hands on her throat? You told
for
us
a
you
little
did.
while, yeah. I mean, it was.
Do you think maybe that's what?
The rope caused the seizure.
Okay.
Or whatever the hell it was, but it wasn't like grabbing, clawing reaction.
And once this is done, and she has gone into a seizure, you finish.
I finished with that pull. The seizure triggered. I finished. That all happened. I mean, it wasn't like pull, but it was hard enough that I could see that causing a moment of panic. If I'd known that maybe, and I didn't know if she had a condition or anything, like seizures or something. I don't know if it was just an odd thing.
But it was arousing you, so you continued a little bit further.
A little bit, but within, I didn't intend to like shut her down or anything. I just,
But once she does shut down, what do you do to save this girl?
In the most epic moment of panic ever, nothing.
So you let her die there in front of you.
That's when I called Roberta and Paul to, I don't.
And how soon after that do you put?
Cat called them.
How soon after that do you put a plastic bag on her head?
Before they got there. And
5 minutes, 10 minutes?
more like 15 or 20.
Did you say she was trying to breathe?
When I put my hand to check breathing, like I heard air when I put the pressure, that's what made me uncertain. Because I know sometimes you can push that kind of air out, that's how CPR works. But this is not something I had ever.
But to be clear, you weren't trying to give her CPR.
No, I was checking breathing to see if it was even there.
So when you thought, maybe there's a breath coming out of this girl, maybe she's not dead, what did you do at that point?
I listened, I checked pulse to see. I could only feel, I couldn't feel hers, that was a carotid pulse.
Do you see how hard it is for me to struggle to believe that you didn't put the plastic bag around her head to ensure that she was dead as opposed to any other reason?
I know it sounds bizarre.
Do you tie the bags up?
After I put them on later, yes, because I didn't want them.
What do you mean later?
Once the breathing check and the look and the listen, the feel, oh crap,
So, just,
You really want to know what was in my head. I thought maybe I could put those on and it would look like somebody else did something psychotic.
but Scott asked you a question, you said, I didn't tie him until later. So,
No, when I put them on, I tied them, but it was after that.
When you looked and you were feeling with the bags on her head?
No. Not the first time. The second time I did that was when Roberta and Paul were there at their direction. You know, hey, wait, check, let's see.
But the bags were on her head at that point?
Yes, though I had pulled them off at that point.
Let's talk about when you initially put them on. Do you tie the bags?
Initially, yes.
Okay, stop. If you tie the bag around her head,
Yeah.
you're not doing that for aesthetics.
No, like I just said, I was doing that because I thought maybe I could make it look like someone else did it, or something, or like some foul play. And
Okay.
which is what it was. It was foul play. I won't deny that.
Your words.
But it wasn't. It was intended to make something that I thought had already happened look like it happened a different way.
Okay.
That was all. That was purely, I wanted to make it look like someone else had like maybe done the bag thing instead at wherever she was found.
When she went into the water, she still had the bags on her head?
No, I had taken them off by that point.
Bear with us.
Are you leaving anything out?
There
Any other details?
was a lot of things that happened that night. As they come up, I'm happy to fill them in, but I'm not gonna say absolute truth, because maybe I am like the bags. I know it sounds like I'm, saying, no, I'm innocent, I'd forgotten I put them on. They were there. I know they were there. I had just plain forgotten.
So were they still on her when you put her in the vehicle?
No. Then she was rolled in the tarp.
She was rolled in the tarp in your room?
Yeah.
Okay, without the bags?
Without the bags.
Where did those bags?
I stuffed them in some of the other bags that we threw away later.
And was that on the way back from UNH?
Yeah. Those. Now, I can't guarantee they were in those specific bags or the bags at the hotel or the bag. I just know I stuffed it in bags. We threw bags in dumpsters, and I didn't manage that part.
When this was going on, this act was going on, and Kat was manipulating the rope also. Was she clothed or unclothed?
She was unclothed.
She was unclothed. So was she participating in a, per se, three-way, or what was going on? What was her
Not as
involvement?
much. She didn't, she was more watching and interacting. A common not really three-way activity, but an activity that we've been known to do with friends was Kat and I would have sex while they watched, or she or I would interact with someone while the other watched. Sometimes we would all interact. In this case, her interaction was limited to things like manipulating the rope, or helping me figure out what the hell was happening and what we were doing later. That was.
So was this?
They didn't make out or do anything together. So.
Was this planned, Kat and Lizzie, to come over that night and to have some type of sexual encounter between the two of them?
Thought. It wasn't what we were like. It wasn't the only purpose of it. Right?
Okay, the thought on who? The thought on Kat or Lizzie? Did Lizzie know she's coming over for that?
Not specifically. It's something we would have brought up.
Okay,
there.
when she was there.
Yeah.
What was she coming over for that night?
Hang out, watch a movie. I had been talking to her about maybe setting up some Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Maybe we'd build a character for her so she could campaign with us, go through an adventure. And then, I thought I caught the whole, hey, let's have fun kind of, vibe. So I suggested, well, we could play these games, we could do those. It wasn't something I had planned out. It was, hey, Lizzie's coming over. maybe we'll just sit and talk the whole time, maybe we'll watch a movie, it was all things that were going on in the moment. That's the biggest part of it, is that it was all things that were going on in the moment. It surprised me when Lizzie was, I use games like strip poker as a way in those settings to just test the water, see how willing someone is. It'll start out simple with like, here, do this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just a piece of clothing. And she was amenable to that. So, and then it built from there.
Anytime I go out and I come back in, I like to lay the same groundwork that I have before. You know that you're free to leave.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd be grabbed at the door, but...
But I've told you all along the way that you're free to go.
Yes, you have.
And at no point have I told you you're not free to go, or you felt that I wouldn't let you go.
I felt that you would, but that others wouldn't. But you have kept your word. I agree on that.
Okay. I want to make very clear that a number of times, probably 10, 12 times, I've told you that if you want me to turn off the recording, that I would.
Yeah.
And in fact, at one point you said...
I did ask you to, and you did.
Okay. And I told you that if you wanted to leave and go see Kat, that you could do that.
Well, you told me that I could go try and
That you
find
could go
her.
try and find her.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what
But
you
the point,
actually said.
right.
I mean,
But
I
the
could
point
go out and
being-
try and find her, but...
But the point being that you could
The
go out
point being
and
that
try.
I could leave and try, but that I couldn't, but it was...
I couldn't guarantee that you could get into Newington PD, but I could guarantee that you could leave.
Yeah.
All right. So we're kind of at a crossroads, right? You told me an unbelievable amount of information. I don't think that anybody in the room isn't thankful for the information that you provide us.
I'm expecting you're all a bit horrified on some level.
Oh, no. Horrified, I say, for things that I cannot even conceive or wrap my head around.
Like what?
What do you think are some of the things that, some of the ways that people kill people? Those are horrifying.
Okay, yeah.
This isn't horrifying, this is a mistake.
And it is, it's...
But you know from going through the system, academy, from reading up on wanting to become a police officer,
Yeah.
that at some point I have to make a determination that,
What?
and I get to the point where I feel like, you know what, I have more questions I want to ask you, but I want to be as safe as I can in asking them. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take you for a ride for you to show me where those clothes are.
I can try, but this was Tuesday night.
All I can ask
The
is
trash
that you
got taken out.
Yep. All I can ask is that you try. I can't ask for anything more than that.
We're not asking you to climb in the dumpster.
Okay.
No.
Well, I mean, I don't want you to think, it's like with the body. I mean, we threw it in that water for a reason, because we knew that the tides might take it, things like that.
Seth, all we're looking for you to do is say,
That's there or there.
Yep.
And I will point you on the path.
Will you be able to do that?
I cannot promise you I will remember the exact dumpsters or what.
I couldn't promise you that I could. So.
Yeah, my memory is, if you ask Kat, my memory is incredibly sharp. There are things I do not remember. What's in which dumpster isn't something I committed to memory.
So we've changed our dynamic a little bit because, I mean, quite bluntly, you told me that you killed her. So, no, you didn't mean to, but it happened. Now I'd like to take you for a ride. I'd like to take you so you can show me the different points where you disposed of her clothes.
Can I see Kat? And say hello?
Boy, you put me in a tough position with that because I told you if you don't lie to me,
And I know, I was working.
and you did lie to me, and you know where I was, I'm in there bargaining with my boss to let you go see Kat, and no sooner do I come out of that than they tell me Roberta and Paul say his story's bullshit. So you set me back there. I don't know the answer to that, but I know that I had every intention to hold up my end of the bargain. I don't believe that you did.
that was an hour and a half ago.
I wanted to see her first. That was all. It was my only bargaining chip, I mean, it was my only bargaining chip, and I wanted to see her first.
Okay.
And then,
I'll
yes,
work on that, okay?
Then,
But look-
yes, all of those.
But look, I can't guarantee that, especially not after I went to my boss only to find out that you lied. That makes it very good. But let's take one step at a time.
But I have been coming clean tonight in this voluntary meeting.
Your words.
You know, I have been, it's taking me time to get through this. It's taken time. But I am coming clean of this. I am being honest, this is a lot of information. And there's, as you know, there is a lot for everyone in different ways at stake, especially the family. Which is why, you know, I mean, you're right. They deserve to know.
Can mean a lot to them.
I mean, they deserve to know, and I'm going to be painted a monster, but they deserve to know. I mean, no matter what stupid, panicky, epic, fail shit I did, you know, they deserve to know.
I appreciate that. And I think that they will too.
I mean, and I know with this kind of idiotic accident, the likelihood I'll be able to pursue any of the careers I've been working on is zilch for the most part. I might.
Well, let's worry about tonight as opposed to worrying about a career.
Oh, I have this.
What I want to do with you before I take you for a ride now, I want to read you your Miranda warnings. And let me tell you why. When we were talking before, I felt pretty comfortable that it's 2, 3, 4 guys in a room having a conversation. That's not that big a deal. I'm not saying that the world is over right now, because I don't believe that to be the case. But I do think it's an appropriate time to read you your Miranda warnings. All right?
I have the right to remain silent.
I'm going to read you each one. After each one, I'm going to ask you if you understand. You tell me if you have any questions, okay? What was the last grade of school that you completed?
College, 4th year, well, took me 5 years, about 4th.
At Rensselaer, right?
No, UNH.
Oh, okay, so you went to
Rensselaer was
Rensselaer.
like a semester and a half, after which I left, because it wasn't a fit. I lost that woman, and I just couldn't deal with it out there. I didn't want to be out there.
But you did go to UNH and
And
finish.
then, yeah, I went to UNH.
What'd you major in?
I was going to drop out of college, and then I decided to take an EMT class. And then when I was going to just, go kind of pursue that, but it was not really certain, and I was young and kind of stupid and silly.
Any number of things
Yeah,
could go wrong.
Any young man is.
Yeah.
Until he knows better, till he learns better. Then my parents talked me into it. I was actually thinking of joining the military.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to become a Marine. I actually wanted to right out of high school. That world makes more sense to me. It's simpler. It's taking orders and doing what you have to do. Trying to figure everything out yourself. But my parents talked me into a college degree. So.
You're a bright guy. I can sense that from you.
For what good?
So let me read these to you. You tell me if you have any questions. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand what that means? You have the right to talk to a lawyer, to have him present with you while you're being questioned. Do you understand that?
Yes, and I, somewhere in this process, will want one. I'm not calling for it yet.
Okay. Well, that's very important.
I'm not calling for it right this moment. I understand, and I will want to talk to one.
But not right now.
But not right now.
If your mind changes on that,
I can certainly say that. Yes.
you can let me know at any time.
Okay.
You understand that,
If
though?
my mind changes on that, I will.
I appreciate that. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning. You understand that?
I know I don't have the money to hire a lawyer. I know I have a joking-ass small paycheck in my pocket, and I probably got my direct deposit of enough to pay my rent. If I were to pay it, put all that money towards it, there's my rent, maybe not food, utilities, or... I cannot afford a lawyer.
So do you know that you'll get one free of charge?
I need one, and yes.
Okay.
And I will get that if I ask for it. Is there any scenario where I cannot or do not?
If you make too much money, they won't give you a court-appointed attorney.
Okay.
Do you make too much money?
No. I'm pretty sure I am below the poverty line.
If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you'll still have the right to stop answering at any time. It's most important. Most important. Do you understand what that says?
It means that if I don't want to answer a question, say, on that drive or right now, I don't have to.
That's exactly right. You know what else that means? At any time, you can tell me, don't want to answer questions, want to talk to an attorney, I'm done. Anytime. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand each of the rights that I've explained to you?
Yes.
In understanding these rights, are you willing to answer questions?
Yes. For the time being, I am willing to answer questions without an attorney.
Because you'd like to reserve the right for later.
I would like to reserve that right for later, because I suspect at some point in this, something will frazzle me and I will want one.
Okay.
Because at this point, I don't, I mean, if I could see Cat, it would be great, but I don't believe I will.
The most important thing, I'm going to talk to my boss, we'll go take a ride. The most important thing is if you come to the realization that you want to stop talking, that you don't want to answer questions, that you want an attorney, you just have to let me know. I can't ask for anything more than that. You tell me, and we'll abide by it, just like we have throughout the entire night. Okay? I appreciate that. I'm going to talk to my boss. We'll take a quick ride. I got to get a battery for my recorder.
I can see the different thoughts going through your head right now.
No, not at all.
Really?
I think you're somewhat relieved, but you're still somewhat
I'm afraid I'll never see Cat.
cautious.
I'm always well. If there's one thing that I learned in my life, it's always be cautious. Always be careful. And every once in a while, something that's, who knows, maybe it's that mentality that led to the more deviant sexual desires that can lead to accidents and mistakes like this one. Because some part of me wants to be a little bit free of that. Well, it doesn't. I don't want to spend my whole life being afraid of what'll go wrong here, what'll go wrong there, how could this possibly go wrong? But if I don't, and if I'd been more cautious, I had, I always have misgivings about anything. If I'd just been more cautious, I'd just said, well, Lizzie seems nice, but you know what? Let's just keep to ourselves. Then she'd still be alive. What if I had said that? What if I had done that differently? I didn't, and I guess it's the actions and the mistakes that count. But, what if?
A lot of what ifs.
A lot of what ifs.
Yeah. At least it's not going to be a huge consolation, but at least they'll know. But now, will Cat ever see me again? Will I ever see her again? Will I ever see anyone as beautiful as she is again? How many times can lightning strike? I've loved 3 women and she's one of them, and I've lost each one in a different way. And it's her that makes me carry on. if I don't have her, what can I really do with the world? You know, what difference can I really make? But, you know, I know that when push comes to shove, the one thing that's true in his mind is that he cares about keeping her safe, the same way I care about Kat, and that he loves me, you know, as his son, and if his son is this thing that could have an accident like this, what does that say? What does that mean? No matter what happens, I just want to make sure they know that I love them. I want them to take care of Raven for me. I can. And I just want Catherine to know that I love them. That I didn't mean for anything like this to happen. You know? I just wanted life with her and you know, some fun and adventure and, you know, an inspiring life full of something. Before her, I had nothing. I had what, video games? So fat, playing video games. That's what I did.
I'm gonna change that battery out, okay?
All right.
We're zipping through them today.
I'm not helping.
Well, you are helping.
I probably am helping the batteries run out. Well, at least I accomplished something today. I ran the batteries out. Twice.
You gave mother and father an answer what happened to their kid. I'd say you accomplished something. You know what happens to my mother and father? Kid. It's approximately 0150 hours on October 13th. This is a continuation of an earlier recording with Seth. Seth, I'll get you now, last name one of these times, but now is not that time. Mazzaglia. Trooper First Class Brian Strong is here. Sergeant Scott Pettengill from the Dover Police Department is also going to be joining us. As I have with every time that I've turned on the recorder, I've asked you, are you comfortable with me recording the conversation? If at any time you want me to stop, you let me know.
I will.
Be happy to turn it off. Okay? Will do. All right. Do you want to use the restroom before we go?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me find the closest one, so we're not walking around the PD, and we'll get you there. And then we're going to take a ride. What was it you said you threw in the dumpster at the Marriott?
Tarps.
Tarps. Anything else?
If any, like a trash bag or, you know, extra plastic,
But they were clear tarps?
not like clear, like opaque, clearish painting tarps, like you could get them alone.
Were they plastic?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be right with
At
you.
least as far as I know. I don't know what else they weren't like canvas tarps or anything.
All right, but here's the story. We're going to step out. I'm going to walk you over to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I don't want to have any conversation with you. I don't want you to talk to me because this room is recorded. You being in the bathroom is not recorded. So I'm going to walk you out that door. I do not want you to say anything to me. Do you understand that?
Serious.
All right, come on out.
Up to now, Couch Detectives have not taken on any sponsors. That being said, to those detectives that have gone above and beyond to support the channel, you are truly appreciated. For the rest of you, consider a 7-day trial on Patreon. We have lots of extras and exclusive content. We also give you early access to most of our content. Scan this QR code or follow the link in the description below. We also have a weekly podcast for those of you that listen on the go. Scan this QR code or find the podcast link in the description as well. Okay, let's get back to it. Although search efforts were exhaustive, and certainly evidence was found that coincided with Seth's story, that Lizzie was dumped in the Piscataqua River, Lizzie Marriott's body has never been recovered. Seth Mazzaglia's trial began on May 28, 2014, and Kat McDonough had a change of heart. Where she originally defended Seth, she was offered a deal to testify against him, which she took. She testified that Seth murdered Lizzie Marriott on the night of October 9, 2012, and that she did indeed help him dispose of her body. Again, her full proffer agreement is linked below. On June 27, 2014, after 19 days of testimony, 31-year-old Seth Mazzaglia was found guilty of first-degree murder for the death of Elizabeth Marriott. The jury returned a verdict after one afternoon of deliberating. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He has since been convicted for trying to solicit an escape from prison. Otherwise, he's still in the cold hands of the law. I want to thank you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe to all of our channels. They are linked below, and we will see you in the next one.